Satan pulled the trigger that killed your son, now it masturbates to memory.
My lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia. If you type in Grand Theft Auto on YouTube, my comes up first.
Get ready to witness the most gripping and intense moments ever witnessed inside the courtroom. Brace yourself as we delve into the world of high-stakes drama, where justice hangs in the balance and emotions run wild. Can you imagine the tension, the raw emotions, and shocking revelations that unfold within these walls? Join us as we unveil the most dramatic courtroom moments ever recorded. Are you prepared for this roller coaster of legal theatrics? Let's dive right in. Meet TJ Lane, currently charged with multiple murders in Ohio. Lane, an infamous American killer, gained notoriety for perpetuating a heinous crime at Chardon High School in Ohio on February 27, 2012. The Ohio Police Department swiftly responded to the reports of an active shooter in the school, with calls pouring in from teachers and students.
High school, we had shots fired, gunshots, multiple gunshots. 911.
Chardon High School, we need police up here. There's someone in the building with a gun.
Yeah.
As per police reports, Lane made his way into the school and proceeded to the cafeteria. It was in this location that TJ Lane unleashed gunfire, resulting in the deaths of 3 students and severe injuries to 3 others. On that day, 6 individuals suffered physical harms at the hands of Lane, but the intangible pain endured by the countless individuals who left Chardon High School on February 27, 2012 will persist for eternity.
Glances of your friends laying all over the place, there's blood, there's people screaming, everybody's running in different directions, and you're just trying to get out.
I saw a kid holding a gun, pointing it towards a group of kids.
Do you remember the look on the gunman's face?
I never looked at his face, I just looked at the gun. I still can't think about it all, because it's just so scary.
Lane's deeds reverberated throughout the community, leaving shock in their wake. He was promptly captured and faced charges of 3 aggravated murders, 2 attempted aggravated murders, and 1 felonious assault. In addition to the horrific killings, Lane displayed no remorse during the trial, uncooperatively rejecting his attorney's efforts. Instead, he attended court wearing a t-shirt bearing the word killer, and even directed an offensive gesture towards the victims' families during the sentence hearing. Lane's statement was nothing short of shocking.
Satan pulled the trigger that killed your son, now it masturbates to memory.
The statement invoked nationwide outrage and repulsion, deeply affecting both the victims' families and the entire nation. Judge David Fury, overseeing the case, characterized Lane's actions as abhorrent, unprovoked, and devoid of meaning. Consequently, Lane received 3 life sentences without parole. Remarkably, he displayed no emotional response or remorse upon hearing the sentence, prompting comparison to the behavior of a psychopath. However, not every convict remains emotionless after hearing their sentence. There are prisoners who feel very regretful about their crimes, like Jaleel Smith Riley. Jamil Smith Riley faces murder charges in Michigan for his involvement in a 2013 armed robbery. Alongside 2 accomplices, Smith Riley approached a parked car occupied by Portia Brooks and Aaron Martin. Using a handgun, he forced Martin out of the car and demanded money. After taking all Martin's cash, Smith Riley fatally shot him in the head, causing permanent brain damage. He then fired at Brooks, who tragically succumbed to her injuries 3 days later. Martin survived but suffered severe harm. Portia's family had the opportunity to address the jury and Smith Riley before the sentencing. Sharon Brooks, Portia's mother, brought her daughter's ashes to the courtroom, expressing how Smith Riley had shattered her life and destroyed her identity as a mother of 3.
This is what I have left because of his greed, his selfishness, his complete disregard of and disrespect of others and life. But as you can see, I get nothing back except the reality that she is gone.
In an emotional plea, Tiamari Brooks, Portia's sister, urged for the maximum sentence to be given to Smith Riley.
I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
Following the gunshot to his head by Jaleel, Aaron addressed the court.
She's still here with us, and she will always be here. So she's our angel looking over us, helping us get through these hard times.
Smith Riley's outrageous crime was eclipsed by his dramatic response to the sentence. In the August 11, 2021 trial, he initially pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and attempted murder, but later disregarded his attorney's counsel and withdrew the plea.
Well, from the beginning, this was an emotional day for the families of both of these victims, but when Smith Riley decided to reverse his plea halfway through the sentencing hearing, they were shocked, and his attorneys were too, in part because it puts the death penalty.
Before his sentencing, Jaleel made his final display of remorse by offering an apology in the court.
I'm so sorry. just want to come home with it.
Furthermore, Jalil's attorney made a last-ditch effort to preserve their client's reputation.
And he knows that he can't go back in time and undo what he did.
Despite the tears and apologies, Judge Charles Kubicki, overseeing the case in Hamilton County Commons Police Court, rejected Smith Riley's plea and condemned him to life imprisonment without parole. The 23-year-old perpetrator, now in prison, crumbled to the courtroom floor upon hearing the verdict. Smith Riley was also sentenced to 11 years for associated attempt murder charge. Yet not every offender remains devoid of emotion upon receiving their sentence, as exemplified by Ryan Stone. Meet Ryan Stone, currently facing charges for a nationwide crime spree that involved kidnapping, assault, and live helicopter broadcasts. The chaos ensued when Stone carjacked a vehicle with a 4-year-old child inside, initiating a perilous pursuit that lasted over an hour. Recklessly driving at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, Stone's audacity knew no bounds. He callously ejected innocent motorists from their cars, replacing vehicles as he continued his rampage. But that's not all. Witness his attempt at another carjacking as he exits the highway, flings open the door while in motion, and abruptly slammed the brakes, narrowly avoiding collision with a parked car at an intersection. Several vehicles suffered damages and numerous injuries as Stone careened through the chase. He even came dangerously close to striking a police officer attempting to deploy stop sticks on the highway. Eventually, the stolen car crashed and Stone tried to flee on foot, only to be swiftly captured and confined by law enforcement. Adding to his reprehensible actions, Stone was captured on tape boasting about his crimes to a friend who visited him in his cell.
Hey, did you know I made the news in the UK and Australia? Yeah, my lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia. If you type in Grand Theft Auto on YouTube, my shit comes up first.
Furthermore, Ryan insists on being financially compensated for the viral car chase, arguing that the news channel profit from utilizing the footage of his escapade.
I'm gonna contact Channel 7 News or have you contact Channel 7 News or something. You guys aren't getting paid using my name.
Stone faced charges for 26 crimes, including kidnapping, assault, motor vehicle theft, and evading law enforcement. During the emotional sentence hearing, victims and their families share the profound impact of Stone's crime on their lives. Some recounted physical injuries sustained in the crash, while others spoke of the lasting emotional trauma. Stone addressed the court, shedding tears, expressing remorse, and offering apologies to his victims. However, the judge remained unmoved, recognizing Stone's history of criminal behavior and the ongoing threat he posed to society. Consequently, the judge imposed the maximum sentence available. Stone pleaded guilty to all charges and received a 160-year prison term without parole. Upon learning that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars, Stone wept. He attributed his actions to drugs, and although his remorse may be genuine, the consequences remain unchanged. However, this was not the sole instance in where a perpetrator received a sentence that felt just, as illustrated by the case of Esteban Carpio. Meet Esteban Carpio, currently charged with murder in Rhode Island. Carpio, an American murderer, committed a heinous act at the Providence police station in 2005. While being questioned by Providence Police Department Sergeant James L. Allen and another detective regarding an incident involving Madeline Gata, an 85-year-old woman, the situation took a tragic turn when the second detective left the interview room on the 3rd floor to get water.
Carpio had asked for water, and the 2 detectives that were in there with him, one left to go get the water and locked the door behind him. They tragically heard Detective Allen say, "I think he's going to kill me. He's got my gun. He's going to kill me." By the time they broke it down, the officer was dying, and Carpio had jumped out the window.
Despite his escape attempt, Carpio was apprehended within minutes following a confrontation with law enforcement. However, the story didn't end there. Carpio sustained injuries during his daring escape and the ensuing struggle with the police. During his sentencing, Carpio appeared in the court wearing a mask to prevent any potential aggression. His face exhibited signs of redness, bruising, and swelling. Upon his appearance, his family members erupted in screams, accusing the police of brutality. They believed that the mask was a means to conceal the alleged retaliatory beating Carpio endured in custody. Carpio's son even went on live television to voice these allegations.
It's gross police brutality. He was mentally ill and he needed help and we couldn't get it. We tried and tried. And he didn't deserve this.
However, Providence Police Chief Dean M. Esterman contended that Carpio sustained injuries while attempting to flee by jumping from the 3rd floor interview room and resisting arrest. The FBI conducted an investigation into the police's actions, but ultimately found no evidence of excessive force being used.
No civil rights violation when injuries are incident to arrest. Meaning, if he's fighting the police officers The officers have the right to use whatever force necessary to subdue the subject.
On July 27, 2006, Carpio was convicted by a jury for the murder of Detective Allen and the stabbing of Madeline Gatta. Despite claiming insanity, he received a life sentence without parole. Initially unresponsive, he later apologized in an attempt to sway the jury.
Every day, I face the facts of what I did and what happened.
Carpio claimed that he was suffering from a mental illness at the time of the crime, but the court didn't entertain the claims. No matter the level of malevolence you attribute to Carpio, how does he measure up against Kayla Mendoza? Mendoza, who tweeted on this very night, claimed the lives of 2 girls in a fatal drunk driving accident.
Ms. Mendoza, to 2 counts of DUI manslaughter. That's count 1 and count 3. How do you plead?
This is Kayla Mendoza, facing charges for double manslaughter and other offenses in Florida. The unlicensed 20-year-old woman was convicted of causing the death of 2 women while driving under the influence in Fort Lauderdale on November 17, 2013. Prior to the crash, Mendoza consumed 2 fishbowl margaritas at a nearby bar before driving the wrong way on Sawgrass Expressway.
Kayla hopped into her car and went speeding the wrong way down the freeway at more than 80 miles an hour. She collided head-on with another car, killing these 2 beautiful young women, Marissa Cotroneo and Caitlin Ferrante, both just 21.
Mendoza faced multiple charges, including DUI manslaughter, vehicular homicide, and driving without a license causing death. Her then-boyfriend clarified that the tweet about being too drunk to care was aimed at him.
The drunk to care tweet was for my boyfriend because he was upset I was out, hanging out with them and with Marcelo drinking because he wanted me to be home.
The Ferrante and Catarino family sued Mendoza, her boyfriend, the T-Mobile store where she worked, and the Tijuana taxi company. 2 months after pleading guilty to 2 DUI manslaughter charges, Mendoza received a 24-year prison sentence on May 4, 2015. Throughout the trial, Mendoza showed remorse, and her apology and crying intensified upon hearing her sentence.
No matter how much time passes, I'm gonna live with that in my heart every day.
Following her sentence, Mendoza was also placed on 6 years of probation and received a lifetime driving ban. Her expressions of remorse and apology suggest the possibility of redemption. However, some convicts are rather shocked by their sentences, like in the case of Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari. Meet Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari, currently charged with first-degree murder in Michigan. They were the parents of a 10-month-old Marianne Welch, who tragically succumbed to neglect, malnutrition, and dehydration on August 2, 2018, in Solon Township, Kent County, Michigan. Prior encounters with the Child's Protective Services began in 2014, when THC was detected in their firstborn system. At the time of her passing, Mary weighed a mere 8 pounds. Seth and Tatiana, citing religious reasons and mistrust of the medical system, adamantly refused to seek medical assistance. During the initial investigation, the family home was discovered to be unhygienic, infested with vermin, insects, and stale food. The autopsy confirmed chronic malnutrition caused by the deliberate withholding of food and water. Seth's 911 call further highlighted their shocking neglect towards their daughter.
And he said, when you found her, she was already believed to be deceased, right? Yes. And that's when you consulted with a lawyer? Yep. Do you believe she was beyond help already? Oh yeah, he was dead as a door now.
During the court proceedings, the prosecutor emphasized the extreme neglect exhibited by parents towards their 10-month-old child.
You didn't know that. And don't tell me you didn't intend that because you didn't get her little tush out of that crib. You left her in there, you ignored her because she was an inconvenience.
Initially facing felony homicide murder charges in August of 2018, the couple's legal journey took a significant turn in June of 2020. Seth Welch was convicted of first-degree murder, receiving a life sentence without parole. In 2021, Fusari testified, revealing her husband's abusive nature and the tragic restriction preventing her from seeking medical help for Mary.
He got very angry with me. He smacked me across the face and he told me that he knows how he said, you know what the I think about doctors. I told you Mary is fine. She's fine, now drop it.
In November of 2021, Fusari received a life sentence without parole for first-degree murder, along with an additional 15 to 30 years for first-degree child abuse. As the judge delivered the life sentence, Seth's jaw dropped in disbelief, whilst Fusari burst into tears. The outcome was met with widespread agreement that the couple received their just desserts. Nevertheless, the case of Adrian Dunn tells a different story. Meet Adrian Dunn, currently facing murder charges in San Antonio. As a previous convict, Dunn was sentenced for fatally shooting Rakeem Tariq Charles in the back during a drug transaction in a parking lot, July 16, 2012. Shockingly, this wasn't Dunn's first run-in with the law.
To prison twice for possessing a firearm after this murder.
he committed another shooting a month before this murder, and he's shown zero remorse.
Prosecutors pressed the jury for the harshest punishment, emphasizing Adrian's extensive criminal record and lack of remorse. In a poignant moment, prosecutor Jason Goss stood with the victim's parents, advocating for a life sentence to prevent other families from enduring the same pain as Charles's family.
Her son, who has to suffer, and this family who has to suffer because of the defendant. And that's why we're asking you for a life sentence.
Adrian's response to his sentence was even more shocking than his heinous crimes. Despite being found guilty, he displayed a complete lack of remorse and indifference. His attorney audaciously suggested a sentence of 35 to 40 years, offering the following justification.
Don't give Adrian a chance to go into prison and try to make something of himself so that when he gets out, if he ever gets out, he can try to be an asset to our community.
In a remarkably short 2-hour deliberation, the jury handed down a life sentence for Adrian. Upon hearing the verdict, Adrian violently resisted the Bexar County Sheriff deputies and caused disruptions with profanity-laden outbursts. Eventually, he was restrained and escorted out of the courtroom. Adrian's case exemplifies the consequences of a drug-related incident gone horribly wrong. However, as he maintains his stoic and confrontational demeanor, there are other offenders who crumble in court, exhibiting genuine remorse for their deeds, as seen in the case of Ellis Nelson Ortiz Nieves.
The bruises, some of the bruises were in the shape of a belt buckle.
Man, I ain't gonna let you, I ain't gonna let you sit here and say no crazy shit about me, man. No, man, because he's saying shit he don't even know, man.
Meet Ellis Nelson Ortiz Nieves, accused of the Michigan infant's murder due to fatal physical abuse. The victim, Giovanni Mejas, a 4-year-old boy, was the son of Ortiz Nieves' girlfriend, Sonia Hernandez. Sonia denies any role in the crime, but her neighbor has a contrasting account.
She was well aware of what was happening because she told him that was his responsibility to whoop them.
Ortiz Nieves refuted accusations of child abuse, but the judge and prosecutors firmly believe that his actions led to the child's death. Kent County deputies discovered Giovanni abandoned on the kitchen floor at the Gaines Township trailer, where Ortiz Nieves was responsible for multiple children under 11. The autopsy revealed that Giovanni's demise resulted from internal bleeding due to an abnormal tear inflicted by an adult. At the trial, Judge Mark Trosak vehemently denounced Ortiz Nieves' behavior, issuing a severe reprimand and advocating for permanent imprisonment.
You are the lowest form of human life that I've been able to observe or see. And that you beat this little boy to death. Anybody says anything back there, arrest him.
Ortiz Nieves received a life sentence without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 80 to 150 years for first-degree child abuse. His response implies potential guilt. However, this was not the sole instance where a convict responded emotionally to their sentence. Another example is in the case of Jordan Fuss. Meet Jordan Fuss, currently facing manslaughter charges in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The 22-year-old was convicted of DUI manslaughter following a 2014 collision that resulted in the death of 6-year-old Santiago Giraldo. Trembling uncontrollably, Fuss entered the courtroom with his family, having been found with a blood alcohol level of 0.21, which exceeds the legal limit by over double. Traveling at over 90 miles per hour on Sterling Road, Fuss crashed his 2004 Infiniti G35 into another vehicle at Davie Road just before midnight on October 3, 2014. Prosecutors sought the maximum penalty, while Fuss's lawyers argued for a reduced sentence, claiming his client's deep remorse and contemplation of suicide. However, prosecutors revealed that Fuss admitted to consuming alcohol and marijuana after the incident. The Giraldo family wept as the defense appealed for a leniency. During the trial, Santiago's father confronted Jordan, his gaze piercing, and uttered these words.
So sorry. I wish it was me. I did not deserve it. I did.
May God forgive you, because I can't. He didn't just take my son's life, he took mine too.
Throughout the trial, Fuss tearfully offered his apologies to the victim's family.
So sorry. I wish it was me. I did not deserve it. I did.
He professed his affection for his family and his online girlfriend he met post-accident. However, the verdict arrived, and Jordan received a 14-year prison sentence.
The court imposes the lowest permissible prison sentence allowable by Florida's Criminal Punishment Code.
Tears streamed down his face upon discovering his destiny.
I love you guys so much. I love you.
Fuss may have gained insight, but certain offenses demand more than remorse. Take for instance the case of Antonio Barbo, a 13-year-old who killed his grandmother for money to purchase pizza and drugs. Meet Antonio Barbo, currently facing murder charges in Wisconsin. The 14-year-old appeared in court for the killing of his 78-year-old great-grandmother, Barbara Olson. Instead of attempting to describe the heinous act committed by this young individual, let's hear directly from the perpetrator.
We were gonna try to scare her to get money and then use force if needed. An attack, I guess to kill.
The boys concealed weapons in their trousers before getting a ride to Antonio's grandma's residence. What unfolded once they entered is utterly startling.
He knew I was on the run and she said she was gonna call my mom. He nodded and then I took the first swing.
Okay, and when you say that you took the first swing is with the hand axe?
Yes, sir.
Antonio also confessed his attempt to place his great-grandmother's body in a car trunk. However, failing to do so, he left it in the garage, concealed beneath a blanket. The discovery of the body fell upon Judy Barbo's granddaughter, who promptly rushed to a neighbor's residence to alert the authorities.
Please send an ambulance and the police. My mother is laying in the garage and there's a lot of blood and there's a blanket over her head. There's a lot of blood.
How did the blanket get over her?
I have no idea.
And how old is your mother?
She is 78.
And is she breathing?
I don't know. I can't look. The blanket is over her head and I can't look.
Okay, who's there with you?
Oh, God, the neighbor.
Okay, can the neighbor check if she's breathing?
Oh,
you don't have to go and look. You don't have to go. If your neighbor can just go and check if she's breathing.
Judy and her neighbor find themselves in a state of panic, desperately seeking aid to save Barbara. Meanwhile, Antonio and his accomplice utilized the $155 to indulge in drugs and pizza. Throughout the trial, Barbara read a statement expressing remorse for the murder and seeking forgiveness. However, despite his apologies, Barbara received a life sentence, continuing to weep.